Welcome to the Giants Nation Show. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, the Football Grump. And welcome to Draft Day 2025. I am so excited, dude. This is one of my favorite pods of every year, starting the new venture of Giants Nation Show. A really pivotal draft for the Giants. And man, I'm just ready to go. You know, taking my shower, shaving before this, listening to the music, getting pumped up. I'm pumped, Grump. How are you?
I'm doing good. Did you like put the hood up and do the whole like 8 mile thing while you're walking towards your computer?
If it wasn't so hot out, I definitely would have. But I was definitely like, I wanted to take, some baseball bats and, swing them on, just start breaking things. Like there's a handful of podcasts every year where it's just like you get pumped up for. And this is 100% one of them.
It's such a huge payoff because like you said, like we do so much work, like the pre-draft stuff, like all that work goes into like today, tomorrow, the next day, and the day after. And then after that, none of that pre-draft stuff really matters anymore. Now you're doing like all new reviews on the guys that actually get acquired by the team, all the undrafted free agents and stuff. And it's I don't know, it's exciting. It's kind of an interesting year to be starting a new show. Like you said, it's pivotal. It could be, a new quarterback that plays for the Giants for 15 years, or maybe they don't get one at all. And we look back on this draft as like, oh my God, do you remember that awful draft in 2025? Just started that new show, did all that work. And you know what I mean?
Yeah. And listen, it's just cool. Like obviously starting the new venture. I'm really excited that the listeners are here with us. But I remember doing this on a little USB microphone connected to my phone with Danny King in my brother's spare bedroom, while, there was family, in town. And I, went over and did this podcast and picked Quentin Williams in the mock draft. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, the draft at the top for the Giants, what we're expecting, the quarterback situation. And then we're going to do our final mock drafts. Just like these are the official mock drafts that we go back and look at. What would we do mock drafts? This is, again, one of my top 3 favorite pods of the year. Basically like this, the week 1 preview pod, and then the 4th of July mailbag. So we're going to get into all of it. How are you feeling about this draft at the quarterback position, right? We're going to get into what we expect and want at pick 3. I don't think anyone is expecting the quarterback at pick 3 anymore, but I think more so than I am expecting quarterback early, whether it's Shedeur Sanders at 3 or Jackson Dart, Shedeur Sanders, Jalen Milroe, or a trade up from pick 34. Because, there's a lot of smoke out there. And I've been trying to, like, goat people into, like, tell me this is not real with the Jackson Dart stuff. And pre-draft, I'm not going to sit here and try and decipher who is pushing for what. Like, is Brandon Brown pushing for the Shedeur at 3? Is Brian Dable campaigning for Jackson Dart at some point? I've had people tell me things and other people tell me conflicting things. So I'm just not going to try and figure it out. We will soon enough. But this is what I'll say about the QBs. I don't think Shedeur at 34 would be a bad move, right? At pick 34. But I'm not going to jump up and down and celebrate because, my evaluation is what it is with Shedeur. I think he's got a middle of the pack NFL arm, below average athleticism. He's really accurate, good understanding of basic NFL concepts, aggressive on the vertical plane, but he also creates sacks. And anticipation and post-snap processing are concerning with that talent. So, I think Shedeur is QB2 in this class. But I'll be honest, man. Like I think Jackson Dart, even at just pick 34, would be a mistake. I think Jalen Milroe at pick 34 would be a mistake. And certainly trading him to the first round, I think would be a mistake.
I'm going to echo some of those concerns. I am nervous about the quarterback situation heading into this draft because this is a harsh take, but I have learned to stay true to my evaluations over the years. And my evaluation is that not one of these quarterbacks is like a day 1 starter. And that includes Cam Ward. Cam Ward, I do think, is a year 1 starter, similar in the way that Michael Penix kind of came in midway through the year and was just kind of ready to go. I think that's the right way to go. He has always had to step up a level of competition, and he's belonged. But this is a whole new ball game going to the NFL. This is where only the elite players play. And I do think that Cam Ward belongs there, but putting him in day 1 is possible, but not ideal. Everybody else is like a leap below that. So, my quarterbacks I do have Shador as my number 2 quarterback, but I actually, where you and I differ is I have Jackson Dart like just below him at 3, Kyle McCord just below him at 4. And then I don't really like Jalen Milroe at all. So I'm nervous all over the place because I don't think that a quarterback at 3, not named Cam Ward, is a smart decision. I think that if you want to trade up into the later half of the first round for your preferred quarterback of that middle group of 2, 3, and 4 of Sanders, McCord, or Dart, I'm okay with. It's still not ideal. I think at 34, any one of those 3 is pretty okay, as long as that's their guy, right? I mean, like taking a quarterback to take a quarterback is always a mistake. My big trouble is taking Shador at 3 or Dart at 3, or in any way, shape, or form taking Milroe before the 4th round. And I say that because I don't understand the infatuation with Jalen Milroe from a Giants fan perspective. Tell me a thing that Jalen Milroe does better than Daniel Jones. Because all of the things that Jalen Milroe does well, so did Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones was more mechanically sound coming out of college. He had the big arm. He had the running ability. All of the positives for Jalen Milroe already existed with Daniel Jones. We saw that experiment. Why we would sign up for that experiment again doesn't make sense to me.
Here's where I disagree with the Milroe point is, one, he's an elite runner. Daniel Jones was a good runner. One, he's just faster than Daniel Jones and just the ability to make a guy miss. It's elite. But he's got a big arm. Like Jalen Milroe's arm is bigger than Daniel Jones.
He has a big arm that throws at only one tempo. And Daniel Jones may not have been an elite runner, but he was more than just good. He ran at basically the same speed as Lamar.
But Milroe's on a different level, right?
Sure.
Like in the NFL, it'd be, Milroe would be the second best running QB day one. Now, here's the issue: is I agree with you on Milroe. I would take him in the 3rd round. I think he's worthy of a swing in the 3rd round. But I am admitting that I'm most likely just lighting that pick on fire. But he's so talented that I'm willing to take that chance with that. I think at pick 34 is way too rich. But yeah, I don't have these delusions of like, if we just get the right coaching in here, we could fix Milroe.
That's what I'm saying.
You're going to need a lot of things to go right. Like there's a big ways to go there, right? This isn't just let's fix some mechanics.
Exactly. There's a ton that needs to be fixed.
Yeah. So again, I'm not sitting here, campaigning for Jalen Milroe, but I do think he is I think he's on a different level talent than any quarterback. I mean, he's way more talented than Cam Ward, even though Cam Ward's just a better thrower of the football. He at least has the big, strong arm. But like you said, you can have a big, strong arm. You only throw at one speed, and it's not super valuable. But with Dart, again, we're not going to do our whole QB evaluations. But my thing is don't trade up into the 1st round. Do not give up picks to trade up into the 1st round. If you believe in Shador Sanders enough to trade up to pick 21 for him, take him at pick 3. It's as simple as that. Now, I don't think they should take Shador Sanders at pick 3, and I definitely don't think they should take Jackson Dart. But just this smoke around trading back up into the 1st round, I think there's a reason why these guys aren't going in the 1st round in a quarterback class that is begging for people to be good quarterbacks. Like I really think there's a reason why no one's talking about Jackson Dart at pick 7 or 8, 7 to the Jets. It's because most people don't think he's good. I'm in agreement with that. And I'm not trading into the 1st round for that just because, they've went through 4 years and haven't drafted a quarterback.
Right.
Like that's my issue is would we be having these conversations about trading back into the 1st round if this was year 1 of this regime? I don't even think so at all. I don't think it'd be a conversation. And that's kind of my point with the quarterback trade up smoke is like, I understand taking a round 3 pick or whatever, but if they believed in Jackson Dart to trade back up to the 1st round, they should believe in him to take him at number 3 or Shador Sanders or whoever that goes, because that means you view him as a 1st round quarterback and not just 1st round someone you're trading up for. Then just pick him at pick 3 because your job relies on him hitting regardless. Don't take the chance of the Saints surprising you or the Steelers trading up to pick 15 or whatever to get Shador Sanders. That sounds like a decent plan, but if you believe in that, you're still taking a risk, right? There's a lot of smoke about Dart to New Orleans at 9. There's a lot of smoke about the Steelers and Shador Sanders, so you're still taking that risk. So that's where I'm at when it comes to the quarterback situation. I don't want to spend too much time on it.
Well, we agree that we're both pretty nervous about how they're going to handle it, right?
Yeah. Now, again, if they take Jackson or Jalen Miller in the third round, I am a little excited about it. Like unlike you, that I think that's our biggest difference. And one of our other biggest differences, I think we're pretty far apart on our views of Jackson Dart, but agree on the where to take him, how to go against it, or how to go about it. So that's just kind of what I've got. We're not going to do our whole quarterback. You want to go listen to our quarterback preview on these guys, go listen to it. But that's kind of my view on it. But again, excited. We're going to get into the mock drafts here in a second. But every year I do a draft day speech or monologue or, someone draft philosophies. And Grump, I'm starting to run out of them because you can only have so many draft philosophies that you can spend I guess I could think of different ones. But, like last year I did the whole if Joe Shane doesn't take a quarterback, he'll lose his job. And my point was no, he'll lose his job because he didn't get a quarterback and he didn't build a good roster. You need to at least do one to keep your job. He hasn't done either one. Now he still has his job. I've done about best player available, looking back at it. I've went and talked about how, let's look at how some of these drafts played out and the outrage it would have went if DeAndre Hopkins went pick 8, but he went 27 and stuff. But this year I want to talk about something that I've believed in for a while, and it's the double dip at a position. And I want to go back and look at examples. And I'll start small. The Chargers last year, they took cornerback Tarheeb Steele at pick 137. You know what they did 3 picks later, Grump? They took cornerback Cam Hart at pick 140. Both ended up being starters for them last year. The Ravens in 2018, they took tight end Hayden Hurst in the first round. And then guess what they did in the third round? They took Mark Andrews. 5,500 yards and 51 touchdowns later. I don't think their fan base is mad that they ignored another need and drafted a tight end after drafting one in the first round. And guess what the Ravens did 4 years later in 2022? They took tight end Charlie Kolar in the fourth round. 11 picks later, they took tight end Isaiah Likely. A year after their tight end Mark Andrews had 107 catches and 1,300 yards. Certainly wasn't a need for those 2022 Ravens was to bring in a tight end. Yet they brought in 2 in the fourth round, and they took 1 second in Isaiah Likely. I think the Isaiah Likely pick worked out, despite the fact that they had a 1,300-yard tight end, and one they just took 11 picks before. There's so many different examples. The Seahawks in 2010, they took a safety 14th overall in Earl Thomas. Then they used a 5th-round pick on safety and Cam Chancellor. That worked out for them. The Bucs in 2018, they took cornerback MJ Stewart in the second round, who started 6 games for them. 10 picks later, they took another corner in the second round named Carlton Davis. I wonder which one of those led the NFL in pass breakups in a year where the Bucs won the Super Bowl. The Colts in 2019, they drafted a linebacker, Ben Banogu, in the second round, who had 29 career tackles for them. The linebacker drafted 40 picks later in the draft, Bobby Okereke. The Packers in 2023, they took tight end Luke Musgrave in the second round. 36 picks later, they drafted another tight end, Tucker Kraft. One had 45 yards in 2024. The other one was drafted in the third round and had 700 yards and 7 touchdowns. The Chiefs in 2016 took a wide receiver named Demarcus Robinson in the fourth round. I know this one is a little more complicated, but they turned around and took one named Tyreek Hill in the 5th. Which one ended up working out for them? The Eagles in 2018. They took offensive tackle in the 6th round, Matt Pryor, who started 10 games for them. Their pick 27 picks later, named Jordan Mailata. He's entering his 6th season as their starting left tackle. The Eagles in 2017, they drafted a second-round cornerback, Sidney Jones, who has a career 4 interceptions and 30 passes defended. Guess who they drafted in the third round after that? Rasul Douglas, who has a career of 19 interceptions and 79 passes defended. The Lions in 2021, they drafted a defensive tackle, Levi Onwuzurike, 41st overall. He still plays for them. He got a 1-year, $4 million deal this offseason after being picked 41st. You know who was taken 31 picks later? Their 4-year, $97 million defensive tackle, Aleem McNeil. So, obviously, I'm not sitting here saying draft the same position back-to-back. That's how you build a winning team, and that's the key to draft success, Grump. You draft a winning team by adding winning players, and sometimes sometimes there's a draft or 2 picks in a row where that happens to be at the same spot. So when we did our defensive tackle preview on Monday, Grump, and there was 9 players compared to the usual 8, and we left off Derek Harmon and Omar Norman-Lott and CJ West and Cam Jackson or JJ Pegues, I just see an opportunity for the Giants to add players to a unit that needs a lot of help. So if the Giants pick defensive tackle at pick 34 and 65, good. And if they use their 5th round pick on that as well, good with me. And it doesn't have to be the defensive tackle spot, but I'm using that because that is the strength of this draft. My mock is going to be a tad hypocritical after I took 3 defensive tackles in my draft month mock draft early in the month. But the point being is I want to get out of this draft with guys I'm proud of. And I just think the defensive tackle spot is in this draft gives them the best opportunity to do that at picks 34, 65, 99, and 105 and beyond. So again, not the big long draft speech I've given or monologues in past years, but just kind of wanted to put some examples and thought process on just saying double dip without just mentioning Mark Andrews, 10 million times. And again, it's not that like my draft strategy is to just, you got to draft a lot of the same position. My point being is believe in your evaluations, but a lot of times those evaluations mean picks, back-to-back picks are good players at the same position, and don't let needs at other positions stop you from taking players that you think are the best available, especially after you take care of the most important positions.
Well, a couple things on that. I wholeheartely agree. I subscribe to the same philosophy, but I think it's a sliver of the overarching way you should handle the draft is to acquire talent. You're not filling holes, you're acquiring talent, right? So just because if you need a defensive tackle, for instance, just because you drafted one doesn't mean that you've filled the hole. If the next pick comes up and the best player is a defensive tackle, or, it's so far skewed between the defensive tackle being on the board and then the next guy that fills a need or however your grading works, that shouldn't deter you from taking another defensive tackle that you like. The New England Patriots drafted Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski in the same draft, didn't they? Both of those.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring that one up, but yeah.
I'm just saying, there is the worst case scenario is that you have 2 bona fide starters at one position that can't play at the same time, depending on what that position is, whether it's free safety or halfback or something like that. And you have a legitimate trade piece. That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah. And especially the defensive tackle spot. Well, the worst case scenario is them just not being good. But What I'm saying, the defensive tackle spot specifically, because you don't just play 2 guys there, right? It's a position you legitimately can play 5 guys in a game.
Almost every position requires, or you can make 2 players on the field at the same time. Almost every single position.
Right. All right. You ready for mock drafts?
Hell yeah.
I'm ready for mock drafts. So this is mock draft 3.0 for me. I did one during the bye week. I usually do one pre-free agency. But, I got married, so that was kind of time consuming for me. And did a draft month 1. So this is my 3rd. And what we would do mock drafts. They're not trying to be predictive. We don't allow trades. Trades are unpredictable. And even if there is a trade, it's not going to be the trade that the mock draft simulator gives you. We do use the PFF simulator. I'm open to using better ones as, for the next years, because I'm not going to sit here and be like, this guy's not going to be there. If there's something I see that's really odd, I'm going to not play by it, right? If, Cam Ward falls to the 2nd round, I'm not going to be like, he's available. But that is the simulator we use. So, going to start off with round 1, pick 3, Grump. And I am taking in the 2025 Giants mock draft, Penn State edge Abdul Carter. First year at the position. I mean, he's just dominant, right? First 1 year at the position and just pure domination. 12 sacks, 24 tackles for a loss. He wins around the edge. He is just so sudden. He's explosive off the ball. He works laterally extremely well. His closing speed on the QB and ball carrier is just out of this world. You can line him up all over the play. Yes, is he someone who will get moved by a double team or lose in the run game at times? Yes. But don't tell me he's going to be just this total negative in the run game. 24 tackles for a loss matters. I want to see him work a little more speed to power. But when you look for a comp for Abdul Carter, it truly is another number 11 from Penn State and Micah Parsons. I think Parsons is better, played with more strength, but we also never saw Parsons play edge at Penn State. So this was easy for me. Just to go through my big board of what I would do for the Giants. It is Cam Ward 1, Abdul Carter number 2, Travis Hunter 3, Mason Graham 4, and Armand Boo 5. I just wanted to put that out there. Like, that's what my preferences were for it. But Abdul Carter, round 1, pick 3. This is about if this is the pick, this is as excited as I'm getting for a first-round pick. You know what? I was going to say since Andrew Thomas, but I'm going to even say more so than Andrew Thomas, Grump. Like, because, at least Thomas was more about me picking my guy out of that 4-tackle class. Abdul Carter, Malik Neighbors is really damn good, but Abdul Carter is really damn good at that edge pass rusher position. And I just am going to have so much fun watching him every week.
Do you want me to go through my pick?
Yeah, you might as well, since for this pick specifically.
Yeah, so I ended up taking Abdul Carter as well at pick 3. PFF, I ran through the simulator a couple of times, and every single time PFF had Cleveland do something silly. So they've been giving them Genty quite a bit. Yeah, Genty. I got Tet McMillan one time, which doesn't make any sense, but I actually did have a little bit of a struggle picking this because both Hunter and Carter were on the board for me, which I don't think is going to happen. But I went Carter. I am adverse to taking corners over edge guys in the draft. I just think it's an easier position to transition to at the edge position. But fully agree with everything that you said. He's an absolute game wrecker. His motor is unbelievable. His strength, everything. And we only got 1 year of him actually playing edge. You put him on a line with Andre Patterson as, someone that's going to help him work with his hands a little bit as he gets those techniques refined. He's only going to get better. I see an upward trajectory for him no matter what team takes him. So what we got last year and what the negatives that you saw, I do think are going to become improved over the years. He's an immediate presence on the edge to cause chaos. At the least, be impactful. You know what I mean? At the very least, year 1, he'll be impactful on plays. And at best, he's going to wreck plays. I also think that he allows for the maximization of what's already on the roster with Kayvon and Brian Burns. If you can give them fresh legs every once in a while, you'll get the best versions of Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau. That's my honest opinion. And I think with Kayvon's experience dropping into coverage, albeit not being, a ton at Oregon, it certainly happened, and he certainly has coverage ability. I think even in Wake Martindale's scheme, he was dropped into coverage at times. I think that allows for some interesting third down situations where you can have Burns, Kayvon, and Carter on the field at the same time. And there's no impetus for him to be like an immediate day 1 starter and have to play like 75% of snaps because of the current rotation you already have. We've already had the discussion on whether or not you need to trade Kayvon right away. We both agree that would be silly. So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And I don't think that this is going to be an incredibly difficult decision if it goes the way we expect it to with Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, with Abdul Carter being the lone guy on the board. Where you and I differ on our big board, I have Membo above Mason Graham. So if for some reason the Giants aren't as high on Carter as you and I are, then I would hope that they're going Membo with that pick.
It seems like Carter is the pick. Like, regardless of what we think happens with the quarterback and trading up or waiting until 34 or not taking one at all, it truly does seem like Carter is the pick. There's basically there hasn't been like any even really speculation about it outside of a couple like, maybe Shador doesn't play at pick 3. And then he was interviewed today at the draft, and he was basically telling them, like, I'm going to be on the Giants, right? He told Ryan Nowazinski, the NJ.com reporter, he's like, you're a Giants reporter. We'll see each other soon. So this is an easy pick for me, right? Like, even if Travis Hunter was available, and I love Travis Hunter, this isn't me. I'm not going back and forth in my head about who to pick. I'm really not. Like, I am so in on Abdul Carter that it's not a question for me. The only person in this draft that I would even consider taking over Abdul and would is Cam Ward.
I don't know if you're truly that torn on whether it's Hunter or Carter. I mean, I don't think you're really getting a bad pick either way. So I mean, you can just flip a coin at that point if you're torn. I don't think the Giants are torn.
No, I don't either. But again, it seems like the Browns are going Abdul or Travis Hunter regardless. The next pick, Grump. This is very important. And guess who I'm picking, Grump? I'm picking the Sussex County Miners. The Sussex County Miners are entering their 10th anniversary season, and they've been huge supporters of Giants Nation. Legitimately. Their GM, Vincent Sangemino, and their owner, Mike Dorso, they're both lifelong Giants fans. And they have stepped up. Like, legitimately. Like, this isn't me reading an ad. They have stepped up to back this show during a big transition. They are sponsoring draft weekend, right? So they're going to be sponsoring the draft streams, the first round recap, the full draft recap, and then they'll be involved in some stuff throughout the summer. Going to get out to a game as well. I'm really excited about it. It is a little bit ironic that the first, sponsor of the podcast is a baseball team, considering the company that I left. But I'm so excited for them. I've told them, I had calls with them about like, oh, I just missed the team because we lost my hometown minor league baseball team, the Brevard County Manatees. But they're showing up for Giants Nation community. So, let's show off for them. Go check out a game. You go to scminers.com for tickets and promo info. We're going to tell you about all different types of promos they're going to be doing because we're going to be talking about them a lot this draft weekend. Here's the one way, because you can't go to a game right now. Because their opening night is May 8th. Just go tweet at them. Let's go, go follow them on social media and tweet at them. I'm super appreciative. I've been excited about it. They sent us, hats. I got Herbie. They sent me a backpack with all this stuff. And we're going to be giving, Grump, I didn't tell you this. We're going to be giving away some tickets during the draft stream. So go
That's
support.
awesome.
Listen, it's their 10th year anniversary. So it's our, 1 year, first year of this. Let's support them in their 10th year anniversary. So go to scminers.com. Again, if you're, Sussex County, if you're close, get out to a game. It's not even just going to minor league baseball rocks. Like, I'm looking at some of these promos, and I won't tell you which one that I enjoyed the most, growing up. It was the Thirsty Thursdays, but there's like so many, $2 Tuesdays, Brain Freeze Fridays, Waggy Wednesdays. Like, it's family. Like, I'm so excited to get out there for a game. So go check out the Sussex County Miners, scminers.com. All right, Grump, we're ready for the next pick. And that is round 2, pick 34. And I'm going to Ohio State guard Donovan Jackson, 6'4", 315 pounds. He played left tackle for Ohio State this past year after Josh Simmons got injured. His first game at left tackle was against my first round pick, Abdul Carter. He gave up 2 sacks and 3 pressures. The rest of the season, Grump, 0 sacks, 2 quarterback hits, and 9 pressures in 13 games. He's not perfect, certainly, but he is quick, strong, long, and stout. In pass protection, he just controls blocks with the hands on guys with those long arms that he has. I wish there was a little more ass kicker in him in the run game, but he does do a good job. He at least sustains in the run game. And if you want to run athletic run concepts like outside zone, pin and pull, like, he's really good at that, right? He's able to pull, even though you want to see a little more, ass kicker when he lands those pulls, but he gets to the spots. He moves to the second level really well. I am trying to take advantage of. I want to get an offensive lineman that can pass protect, and then obviously get better in the run game. But Donovan Jackson, I'm looking for those clump of offensive linemen, whether it's Josh Connerly, Gray Zabel, Josh Simmons is kind of out of the picture, but I'm really hoping for Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State with round 2, pick 34.
Donovan Jackson fills a huge need immediately, I think. which again, that's not really what you're trying to do, but he's an excellent pickup to have. He wasn't available for me when I picked at pick 34, but what
your
I
guy
got,
wasn't available for me, so this
right.
works out well.
Yeah, it does. I went with Oregon offensive tackle Josh Connerly, 6'5", 311-pound athletic tackle with 33.5-inch arms, good enough to compete for a starting left tackle job in the NFL right now. He can come into any NFL team and compete for a starting left tackle spot. Mechanically, only needs some minor adjustments, adding NFL strength, which is something that's very common at this stage for a lot of people. I think specifically to his core and his lower body will aid the minor balance issues that he kind of has, and they are minor. He has an advanced use of hands, athleticism, quick, choppy feet. These are all really great traits combined with his body type to have already coming out of school. He has the advantage of not needing to play right away. He can serve as a backup role, special teams for field goals and extra points or whatever, to get his feet wet, and he can develop into that swing tackle that they need. There's no pressure to push him into playing a starting right tackle spot this year. He may not even need to play right tackle. We have no idea. He can just learn how to be an NFL tackle and grow. And I think that's a huge deal. And I think in year one, if Andrew Thomas sneezes, the season won't be torpedoed by that. You know what I mean? If Andrew Thomas really does need to take a day, he doesn't have to play through a sprained MCL for 4 games. You can actually play a guy who is not going to embarrass himself. So I think year one, he has an immediate impact in that role where you can, again, maximize the talent that you have, the guy on the 5-year extension that you gave. And, in 2 or 3 years, you can move on from Andrew Thomas in cap-friendly years, 22. I mean, you don't have to, but you don't know what his injury situation is going to be. And in
I can't handle that emotionally.
I understand. I'm just saying this gives you all the flexibility that you need while also preventing, the season being torpedoed by an injury. Maybe he winds up being the right tackle opposite Andrew Thomas. All of these options are now on the table.
Yeah, the plan is for him to be the starter after Jermaine Eleanor leaves next offseason. And if someone gets injured, him playing, which guys have gotten injured. Yeah, would you like someone to come in and be a starter right away with that 34th pick? Absolutely. But do you think the Jets are regretting taking Olu last year, even though he wasn't a starter over Tyron Smith or Morgan Moses? No. So, for the record, I would go Connerly over Donovan Jackson. But as you're going to see in this, we agree on some other picks, and I was like, we just can't agree on everything. But Donovan, I don't see Connerly getting there. He wasn't there in the simulator, so I'm like, all right, let me go Donovan Jackson. That's my more realistic one for me. And you get that guard spot, figured out. And again, I would like Donovan Jackson to play right away, and let Greg Van Roten be the backup guard, compete for the starting center job with JMS possibly. Or not, as you might see later. But if he's not ready, then he's not ready, and you don't have to force him to play either. So, so round 2 picks 34. I went Ohio State guard Donovan Jackson, and Grump went Oregon offensive tackle Josh Connerly. All right, round 3 pick 65. I'm going to go Texas defensive tackle Alfred Collins, 6'6", 332 pounds, 35-inch arms. We just talked about him on Monday in our defensive tackle preview. And obviously there's guys that I would pick ahead of him. The more I thought about it, I would go Kenneth Grant over him because of, the age difference. And I think Kenneth Grant can turn into a really good pass rusher. But he is someone that the Giants had for a top 30 visit. So, for me, all 3 of my first picks are top 30 visits for the Giants. But he's just a legitimate monster in the run game. The way you go and watch him play versus Georgia was beautiful. I mean, he just lands, he strikes, lands, extends, and just sheds every single play in the run game. He's just dominant. And he really gave Georgia a lot of trouble. He splits double teams, and he's not a guy who he just does a good job deconstructing blocks. He finishes plays in the run game. He's not someone who's never going to give you any tackles for a loss or stops at the line of scrimmage. He gets legitimate stops. He's a little bit longer, but there's I really like Alfred Collins, round 3, pick 65 for the Giants. Grump, you could go ahead and say who you're picking so we can just talk about them.
Yep, I picked the same thing. I did this. I didn't know who your picks were. I got the text this morning with all your picks, so I didn't copy you. But 6'6", 332-pound freak with 34.5-inch arms. immediately is going to clog the middle. Big and strong. He uses that length really, really well, controls blockers well, despite at sometimes some bad pad level. Hands can be a little bit sloppy and slow at times, but the good is great. The needs improvement can easily be unlocked by Andre Patterson or any defensive line coach. I think what needs to be improved is very minimal.
Do you think he's gonna do you think he has potential to be a pass rush, give you pass rush juice? Because I don't really ever see that unlocking with Alfred.
I don't know about if by pass rush juice you mean being able to push the pocket. I see
that's my goal for Alfred Collins. Be someone who at least just put a dent in the pocket. Yeah, because right now he doesn't even do really that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all I really see from him. But at pick 65, I'm okay with that. And I think in conjunction with the other things around him, I think that's fine, both for the immediate and for the long term. I mean, it's not as if defensive tackles that have a pass rush presence are unicorns. They're expensive, but I mean, like every couple of years in the draft, there's that guy. You know what I mean? It's not really that serious. That it's like, oh, you can't waste a pick on a guy who offers no pass rush. Pick 65, I'm okay with that. With that being his pass rush.
He is that good in the run game where I am all in on Alfred Collins. And again, at pick 65, that's perfect. And he's a top 30 visit for the Giants. So he's obviously on their radar. And I don't think he's on their radar at pick 34. It's, again, this is a weird draft where it's like the whole will he be there, will he not be there is weird. Obviously, Alfred Collins, it wasn't even close on the simulator. Like he was there, like you said, you ran through it, and I go through them all the time. He's always there at 65. I could see a team taking him at 59, 58, but we'll see. But I love Alfred Collins. All right, comp pick from Xavier McKinney and Ben Bredesen. Finish off day 2, round 3, pick 99, and I'm going UCF running back R.J. Harvey. 3,500 yards and 42 touchdowns last 2 years for UCF. Our guy Julian, I think, is actually spending draft day with him. Has been like, watch RJ Harvey, watch AJ Harvey. He was one of my last watches in this draft process because we didn't do a running back preview, Grump, because of the whole change and everything. And the Giants had 4 running backs for top 30 visits, so I was like, all right, let me make sure I get those guys done, and then I'll check in on some different running backs. And RJ Harvey was one of the ones that I went to. Dude, he's a smaller back, at 5'9", but he just plays above his weight. He's elusive. He had the second most breakaway yards in the class after Ashton Genty, but he's a little bit older, 24 years old. But at round 3, pick 99, I'm just not worried about that at all. We saw him take Tyrone Tracy, who was an older back last year. He's just so quick. He's patient. He manipulates defenders extremely well. He creates explosive. He makes guys miss, and he's tough. For me, that's everything I'm looking for in a back that I'm not, taking with a top pick.
It's not unprecedented for them to go running back. Just look at Brandon Beane's history in Buffalo.
Every year, 3rd round with
Singletary,
Moss, and then Cook in the 2nd round.
That's right. They're big on taking running backs. Joe Shane has already talked about what he looks for in the age of running backs. Doesn't really have much to do with actual physical age. It has to do with wear on their tires, which is why he was comfortable taking Tyrone Tracy. So I actually don't mind this pick at all. It's not where
he does have a lot of wear and tear, but it's still.
And let's just look at what the running back room is for the Giants. Eric Gray stinks, and Devin Singletary is going to be gone in 2026. So this isn't a stretch by any imagination. I, on the other hand, went Bowling Green tight end Harold Fannin Jr., 21 years old, 6'3", 241 pounds, with 32.5-inch arms. He's a Senior Bowl guy. He was kind of the only tight end down there that really caught anybody's eye. I think that he plays faster than he tested. His combine 40 is 4.71. If you look at his tape, he just looks faster than that. And it's the same thing with Odell Beckham Jr. I think his 40 time was fairly average for a wide receiver, but once he's on the field, he just moves a little bit differently. Not comparing the two, just saying. But really, really smooth-handed receiver. He can fill out the tight end room with a legitimate just receiving threat. He plays big and tall. He runs a pretty wide variety of routes for a tight end coming out of school. He does need to sharpen them. There's a lot of stuff that needs improvement. This isn't my favorite pick that I did in this mock, but I do like Harold Fannin Jr. And with what was available for me at the time, he was pretty clear he was the most talented guy on my board at the time. But I don't really recall exactly who was there. I wasn't really debating too much at that point.
I was hoping you'd pick him at pick 105 so we could just be like, yeah, Joe Shane takes a 4th-round tight end every single year. So Fannin is like a fun watch. How do you get past it's weird the way he runs. Like he just doesn't like you would think you're seeing this guy who has all these yards and catches. You're like, this is the smooth mover, and it's just not that.
No, it's not that. But he does work angles really well. He makes athletic DBs look silly in the open field. It's very strange.
Yeah, and he's like good, like you said, he's good with the ball in his hand. Like he's strong. He doesn't go down. So he's a fun player to watch. You obviously got to use him in a more specific way than your regular tight end. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that production is just fake. It'll be interesting to see how his career pans out. But so you're going round 3, pick 99, Harold Fannin out of Bowling Green. I went UCF running back RJ Harvey. All right, day 2's over. I'm up all night doing a Donovan Jackson film breakdown, getting started on RJ Harvey because running back's a little easier. And then we wake up and it's like, all right, we got to do this day 3 stream. And I'm going to get round 4, pick 105. I'm going Georgia center Jared Wilson, 6'3", 310 pounds. Ran a 4.84 40. His RAS score is I think it's like one of the 10 best centers. He was actually one of my first watches of the draft process, Grump. And I feel like I always grade the first guys I watch a little tougher. But I actually let me go back and watch Jared Wilson, and I'm like, man, this is good stuff. I do want to see more out of him, but he is athletic as hell, and he plays like it too, right? It's not just the RAS score; he's athletic, and I think I've learned from mistakes, right? Like I wasn't huge on Creed Humphrey, but I did like John Michael Schmitz, and it's like, you know what? Bet on the athletic types at center position. Because there will be some film that you don't like, like even Tyler Linderbaum when he was, there's film that you didn't like of him at times. Joe Tippmann, who hasn't been, he's been a lot better than JMS. So it's like kind of just bet on those athletic center types. Hell, Cam Jurgens in a different situation. He was a tight end convert. But again, it's not like Jared Wilson was bad at Georgia either. I mean, Wilson allowed 0 sacks, 1 quarterback hit, and 5 pressures to go with that athleticism. You see him do well in those athletic run schemes. But I want to see him get stronger in the upper body. I thought he lost on the push-pull move quite a bit. He doesn't have like that knockback or torque in his run game, and guys work to slide out. So he's got to get better. But again, it's a lot of the negatives of centers that I watch. I'm like really athletic, and I understand why people like him, but got to get better at it. So I'm taking a swing at it with Jared Wilson out of Georgia with round 4, pick 105.
Pick 105, I double dipped. I went.
When I dip, you dip, we dip.
Florida defensive tackle Cameron Jackson, someone that we didn't talk about. I feel like I haven't talked about since we were at the Senior Bowl, and
I took him in the draft month mock draft.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I want to watch as many defensive tackles, so let me put different defensive tackles on the preview to make sure I watch them.
Yeah. 6'6", 328-pound monster with 34-inch arms. The tape looks pretty messy, but also Florida's defense started slow and got better as the year went on. Senior Bowl, he looked like an absolute animal down there. Tons of motor, lots of size and strength.
Jeez.
Some stuff is raw. But behind the rotation at defensive line, he can come along at his own pace. Now, like I said, we're double dipping. We've already got Alfred Collins at pick 65. Look at this defensive front that I've assembled here with Kayvon Thibodeau, and you too, actually. Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, Brian Burns. You have Golston in there as well as additional rotation. Dexter Lawrence, Nacho, Collins, now Cameron Jackson. I'm not saying that that's an insane defensive front, but it's certainly beefed up now. I think if Cam Jackson can get his pad level down a little bit, he is 6'6", but if he can really get himself a little bit lower, work that leverage, he already has the active and strong hands that he just needs to refine a little bit. I think that he could be an absolute terror in the middle.
Yeah, so I kind of hate the just get this guy, let this position coach work on him. I do who was it out of LSU last year? Who was the guy identified as that for The Jags picked him. They picked 2 of them, but who was the? It's driving me nuts. So
yeah, man. Asking me at this point to remember something from last draft is hard.
I think I took him in the mock draft last year, but like I do want Andre Patterson to work with Cam Jackson, right? Because he's so big and long. You see, like his film versus Tennessee was just beautiful. It's just Mason Smith, is it? Thank you, nice dude. With 2 A's, you actually spelled it wrong. So now I remember that more than you did, nice dude. So it's just big. Now again, you see times where it's like, dude, you're way too big for strong and big to let that double team beat you the way it did, or this angle to wash you down. So it's like he's got to get a better understanding and, like you said, play with better leverage. So in the draft month mock draft simulator, he was there late, and then this I was like, I'm going to get Cam Jackson the 5th, and then he went in the 4th, and I'm like, son of a gun, I don't get him. So I did that whole speech on double dipping. I'm really pissed off at myself that I didn't double dip, but I didn't want to pass up on RJ Harvey or Jared Wilson. So, like I said, I'm getting Jared Wilson. You're getting Cam Jackson, Georgia, Florida. We are hitting the trenches. Has every single one of your – oh, no, Harold Fannin. So you've had 4 out of 5 picks be trenches. Mm-hmm. I've had 4 out of 5. Okay. We're getting big. We are getting big, boy. All right, let's hit round 5, pick 154. This is via the Seahawks in the Leonard Williams trade. We lost our 5th-round pick in the Brian Burns trade. I'm going Maryland wide receiver Ty Felton. 6'1", 185 pounds wide receiver who is fast. He ran a 4.37, a 39.5-inch vertical jump at the combine, and it shows up. Grump, when I look at day 3 wide receivers, there's different types, right? You have some that don't have the testing that you like, but they're legit route runners, and you can, whether it's a slot or someone you can slide in there and can get snaps for you. And then I look at the guys who have speed, yak ability, and the ability to get off the line of scrimmage. And Felton fits in that role. There's times where I think his releases, he gets, bumped out a little too wide because he is pretty slender. But again, like he has the speed, he can stop quickly, he makes smooth transitions and will set DBs up. My things with Ty Felton are, 1, he needs to learn the tempo. It's just full go, right? He runs a slant. It's fast, bang. Like learn to tempo your routes a little bit in the quick game. And then I think his squared off routes, he doesn't have the burst out of them, right? You put him on a corner or a post, I mean, it's a smooth transition. You put him on a 5-yard in, and he's not getting that burst out of it. But he does, and he's got the slender build, and he's got shorter arms at 30-inch arms for a guy who's 6'1". But again, like Kyle Williams is going to go probably in the 3rd round out of Washington State, and I talked about him, and it's like, listen, I got issues here, but he can separate vertically. He can be used in yak, and he gets off the line of scrimmage. Felton does that. He's not doesn't do that stuff as well as Kyle Williams, but Felton is at least someone that, again, not going to play right away, but hopefully in 2 years we're like, all right, you know what? This guy got some starts when guys got injured, and he makes us a little more comfortable moving off of Darius Slayton.
I was going to say this is like an immediate replacement for Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even looking. Hyatt's not even in my mind. I'm not.
But that's my point. I mean, like he's already. I would say the 2 of them could compete for the same spot in the depth chart, right out of the gate. So I endorse this pick. Yeah, I double dipped again at 154. I went for the other offensive tackle from Oregon, a Johnny Cornelius, 6'5", 310-pound right tackle with 33.5-inch arms. This lets Connerly develop into a swing tackle at his own pace. I think it allows Connerly to possibly focus on, left tackle. I don't know. Cornelius, this is a double dip. If nothing becomes of this, if this becomes just a depth guy, then it's just a depth guy, and who cares at 154? If he can snag the right tackle position, which I think I know that big boards have him low. I have him higher than this. This is like a consensus area, though, so I didn't think it was ridiculous that he was on the board at 154. Everyone seems to think this. I have a higher opinion of a Johnny Cornelius. I think that he looks pretty darn good. Smooth feet, although they're not the quickest, they are very smooth and comfortable. He doesn't look rattled or off balance very often. I think that he's just inconsistent is like the biggest problem, right? Like when he plays with good pad level, everything works. when he is too tall in his stance, that's where you start to see things fall apart. And I don't think it's really anything more than just get your pad level down. The speed I don't think is ever going to come, but I don't think that the speed is anything less than adequate. I think it's perfectly fine for a right tackle where it is. I legitimately think that he could snag a right tackle spot in the NFL, not in 2025, but in 2026 or 2027.
I asked you, like, give me a list of some guys you're on for the Senior Bowl, and he was one of them. So,
But he didn't show up, right?
No, he did. Actually, I don't know. Did he?
No, he didn't show up.
Oh, yeah,
only
right.
Connerly did, but he was supposed to.
All right, let's hit round 7. Giants didn't have any 7th round picks last year. We got 2 this year. In round 7, pick 219, I'm taking Oklahoma State linebacker Colin Oliver. He had 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hits, and 10 pressures in 1.5 games this past year before getting injured. As a freshman, he had 11.5 sacks and 16 tackles for a loss of edge, and did well as next year. And then they because of his size, he's 6'2", 240, has 30-inch arms. That's not an edge body. They split him between stack linebacker and edge, and he didn't really fit at stack linebacker. But they didn't let him play it full time, so we haven't really gotten to see him actually work at it and try and perfect that position. He was still playing the edge, and when he was at stack linebacker, he was always moving forward. But it's just a guy that has a ton of protection, really good testing. But again, he comes in at 6'2", 240 pounds and 30-inch arms. So that's why he's in the 7th round. If he was 6'4", 255 and 33-inch arms, like, we're talking about a guy who, might even go on day 2. So I'm not like, this is the 7th round. So we're not talking about guys like, this guy's going to be a stud. This might be another Carter Coughlin, where you have a guy who's a good college pass rusher, who's a tweener, but I'm willing to throw a dart at someone who at least knows how to play football. And, like, worst case scenario, you get a special teams performer. Like, you get a Carter Coughlin. Like, Carter Coughlin was a good 7th round pick. They tried him at edge. He had, a couple plays here and there. Don't never forget the Cincinnati game. He smoked Jonah Williams a couple times. They move him to stack linebacker. He gets injured, and it never really worked out besides being a special teamer. So, but I went Colin Oliver out of Oklahoma State, and I think all the Oklahoma State guys are off the board. Grump, who do you got?
For what it's worth, I really did like Carter Coughlin. I thought that was a great pick. I took Oklahoma State running back Ollie Gordon II, Senior Bowl guy, 6'1", 226-pound physical runner with soft hands. Physical presence to possibly, I don't want to say counteract, but work in tandem with Tyrone Tracy's kind of speed and agility without getting rid of the receiver aspect. Putting Ollie Gordon in there as a physical presence runner does not negate him as a receiver out of the backfield. He has very soft hands coming out of the backfield. I shook his hand. They're ginormous. We met him at the Senior Bowl.
He was a great interview.
We did interview him, right?
Yeah, he was like, I was like, I'm surprised a running back.
That's right. I remember thinking about it. I was like, oh, he's a smart guy. Like, you could just tell just the way he was talking. At 219, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like, I think that this is a player that could impact things. I don't like Eric Gray. I do like Dante Miller, but it's a complete unknown right now. Singletary is going to be gone in a year. They need to add somebody to the room at some point. What's wrong at 219? If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Yeah, I like the idea of getting someone who's different than Tyrone Tracy, because he's a big bruising. I mean, he's not. It wasn't like he was not productive. He had 1,700 yards in 2023 and 21 rushing touchdowns. Like, he is a big running back who knows he's a big running back. He plays behind his pads, right? Like, he doesn't have the speed, but or this quickness, especially in tight spots. But he's got strong legs, and he avoids those tacklers, right? Guys that come in down his legs, they're not bringing him down. And if you got the guys that go real low, he'll literally jump over them.
Right.
I think this is, just you see him, air Gordon over guys when you watch him in film. And he's a good blocker, utilizes the cut block. Like, he actually understands blocking. He's not just running into his assignment. So, yeah, like, I again, 7th round. I actually thought about taking Ollie Gordon as well, too, even though I took a running back in the 3rd. But again, you're just trying to get players, not positions. I thought about it here, too. A top 30 visit for the Giants, so there's some level of interest there. So we both go Oklahoma State guys. I go edge linebacker. You go running back. All right, let's finish it off, Grump. Round 7, pick 246, coming from the Bills in the Boogie Basham trade, which, by the way, they have pick 177. This is a 72 pick difference. You know what? That pit trade sucked. I'm taking Toledo safety Maxon Hook. He's a box safety, played 61% in the box last year for Toledo, 29% deep, and then only 10% at nickel. But pretty productive in his time in Toledo. 7 interceptions and 11 pass breakups the last 3 years, while also averaging 8 tackles per game. A smart player who's looking like to make plays, right? Like he's smart in zone. He reads concepts and quarterback size. Now there will be times where he'll get caught cheating, especially on play action, and there'll be a post route behind him. It was like, dude, you were supposed to be the help to your corner there, and you weren't there. But again, like I'm looking for a guy that's looking to take chances. He's a good tackler. He plays physical in the run game. And obviously there probably is going to be some, that's a guy that fits the special team role in the NFL. I didn't watch a special team plays, and I never will pretend to. But like maybe you get like a third safety who you put as a box linebacker at times. So Maxon Hook, safety out of Toledo, with my round 7 pick 246 from the Buffalo Bills. Grump, who are you finishing off your draft with?
Another Senior Bowl guy, just like you did. I went for UCF DB Mac McWilliams, 5'10", 191 pound. I don't really know where he's going to play at DB. He kind of played a little bit inside and outside at UCF. I think he might transition to safety. I'm just going to call him a DB for this. He ran a 4.4 140 with a 1.52 10-yard split, which I believe was among the fastest at the combine. One of the things that jumps off the tape right away is he's an aggressive form tackler. You think at 5'10", you think DB, you get guys who just kind of throw a shoulder or dive at ankles, dive at knees. No, he squares up, wraps, and drives people into the ground. It's really refreshing to see. He plays bigger than he is too. I didn't think he was 5'10" looking at it. I thought he was 6 feet just looking at the film. I think at worst, he's a special teamer in year one. He's a gunner in year one. I think at absolute worst. But I actually think I think him being available at 246 is a little nuts. That's pretty consistent with some of the consensus boards. So I didn't not take him because of it. Maybe at 219, this makes a little bit more sense. But yeah, I think in the defensive backfield, adding some speed and aggression and physicality, you're getting like Drew Phillips light in a lot of ways with Mac McWilliams. I don't know that he really will develop into a, press cover, like slot corner guy. But if he winds up being like in a dime package, the 6 DB on the field, I don't think that that's going to be awful. I think I think that he can be really useful as a blitzer because he is physical and he is fast and he just pins his ears back and goes.
Full circle moment because, we had a relationship, but we started utilizing you and having you on the show and doing stuff more with you because of a UCF corner, Aaron Robinson. We had you on. We literally watched film on stream. Can't do that anymore because I'm scary of getting demonetized. But Mac Williams. So to recap the draft, by the way, we both went a Penn State guy, both a Texas guy, both a UCF guy, and both Oklahoma State guy with 8 picks. All right, so let's recap the draft. Let's get that graphic up. We both, with the 3rd pick, went Abdul Carter. 2nd round, I went Donovan Jackson out of Ohio State. Grump went Josh Connerly, tackle out of Oregon. Both Texas defensive tackle Alfred Collins in the 3rd round. I finished it off day 2 with UCF running back R.J. Harvey, uber productive. Grump went with uber productive tight end Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green. Round 4, SEC trenches. I went Georgia center Jared Wilson. Grump went Cam Jackson out of Florida. And then round 5, I went Maryland wide receiver Ty Felton, followed by Colin Oliver out of Oklahoma State linebacker, and then Toledo safety Maxon Hook. Grump went Ajanai Cornelius, tackle out of Oregon, and then Oklahoma State running back Ollie Gordon, UCF cornerback Mac McWilliams. Tell us which one you guys like the best. Let me say this: we didn't take a quarterback. This is a what would you do mock, so I'm not going to be like, oh well, they're going to take a quarterback. This is a what would you do mock, so I'm not trying to predict what they do. I will say I'm getting Taylor Elgersma as an undrafted free agent out of Canada, so I do have a quarterback. I did think about going Cam Miller out of North Dakota State. Kind of like his film, but I'm like, the arm is lacking, and he's not super accurate. But so I didn't go Cam Miller out of North Dakota State. What do you think about not getting a quarterback? I mean, just if these guys are going to go as high as they're projected, as in these late days, Grump, I'm just they're not going to be my pick then. Like it's the whole thing I told you where I'm willing to take a chance on Jalen Milroe in the third round. And if your rebuttal to that is like he won't be there in the third round, then I'm just accepting that I'm not getting that quarterback.
I mean, I texted you. I would have won a quarterback. I kept putting off Jackson Dart as he was still available, and then it just got to a point where it's like, this is unrealistic. There's no way he's going to be available at pick 99. I don't care how much people don't like him. It's not going to happen. And like, Jalen Milroe was gone early in my mock. So even if I did like him, I didn't even have him available in the later rounds. It was really just kind of guys I didn't watch, like Riley Leonard, which I can't in all good conscience pick a guy I didn't watch at all.
You pick another Duke QB, you might get people to lose their mind too.
That's very true. So it's not as if I completely ignored the position. It just didn't fall for me. It didn't work the way I wanted it. And a guy that I was comfortable taking, by the time I was going to pull the trigger, I was like, this is bullshit. This is just never going to happen. So I'm not going to waste my time with it.
Right.
And that ended up being like my Harold Fannin pick or something like that, didn't it? Or maybe it was like Alfred Collins. I don't remember.
Right. I think Harold Fannin, but all right. So that's the draft day pod. It's one of my favorite pods, and it's come and went. We are going to be live for the entire draft. So again, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Again, we're going to be live the entire time. I got the draft guide ready here. I got the coconut. I got the draft hoodie. I got the draft hat. I'm ready to go, man. Like I'm just ready. So we'll be live streaming the entire draft. We'll be reactions to everything, highlights, stats on socials. We'll have podcasts recapping the first round, the full draft recap, and then every undrafted free agent, even if it's a international exemption backup kicker from Rutgers. We'll do that too because we've done it. One of my favorite stories ever, Grump, is when we signed Sandro Platzkummer, who played in Austria, and it's like, oh, there's certainly not information we get on Sandro Platzkummer. And I was like, guess what? One of my best friends, teammate, roommate in college, went and played the Austrian league. Not only did he forced 2 fumbles on Sandro Platzkummer in a game, so we had him on the show. So film breakdowns on every draft pick. We are your spot for the New York Giants draft. Appreciate you guys so much this whole month, right? We're in the draft, so now all that stuff is gone. But man, it is not lost on me how appreciative of everything. Grump, appreciate you helping out with the draft stuff. We're just getting started. We will see you guys again. Live stream the whole first round. We'll have a recap. Like and subscribe. We'll see you then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.